Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Lost Kingdoms. Today we're going to be advancing to our very first side quest of the game, as I can't actually remember if we showed at the end of the last episode. So, long story short, we did a bit of deck manipulation in the meantime, in between getting the Dalnock Valley. And by that I mean I made some extra cards, sold them for money, and bought tons of red lizards. Red lizards are the fire elemental cousin of the lizard man, and are going to be incredibly useful in the upcoming stage, seeing as earth creatures such as the lizard man and the, well, not really the sand golem, but the lizard man and the mummy are going to be nearly worthless in a stage filled with grass creatures as we're about to go to. I'm going to keep a couple of Mandragora because we don't have many physical attacking, or we don't have many attacking grass cards at all for that matter. And they're fairly helpful in the upcoming stage. Enemies move fast enough that they'll often move into the Mandragora's range. But as for the rest of the deck, we're just putting some stuff in there that I think will help, a Lycanthrope, a Cockatrice, a Ghoul. But in any case, we're going to head to the Dalnock Valley where we've been tasked with destroying the beehives. So, we are going to destroy the beehives located in this level, acting as a makeshift exterminator for the stage, despite the fact that the world is in danger. The moment you enter the stage, you come across this wonderful bridge, surrounded by a shitload of fog, through which you're going to see a single pigman cut a single tie, which is going to cause the bridge to spontaneously collapse. I can sort of understand it collapsing, but that was a bit of a weird pattern for it to do, so I'm going to assume the whole thing was rigged to go from the beginning. So, turning the corner, we encounter our first battle of the area. It's going to be two orcs, the type of enemy that we just saw across the bridge, so naturally we want a little bit of payback for destroying our main means of transportation. Orcs are a little more dangerous than hobgoblins, and way more likely to try to taunt you, which is honestly their downfall. Orcs are not particularly powerful, but they are fire elemental and they have moderate amounts of HP, so you'll probably have some difficulty if you're trying to use grass elemental cards against them. We collect a red fairy just telling us about used cards and how to throw them further, but we already knew all about that. No need to capture an orc card in this stage though, just to note, because we are going to just get an orc card right there. In fact, just about all the stages in this game contain the cards that you're going to need at a later time to complete your collection in some way, shape, or form. There are very few cards that you actively need to collect. So this is the level's gimmick, giant bees. I am, let's say I'm intentionally throwing this fight to give you a better idea of how the bees move and act. And it definitely wasn't just that I placed a Mandragora poorly and then got hit by an enemy after wasting a Dragon Knight cast or two. No, that would just be silly. So, bees move exceptionally quickly, they have a chance to poison you with each hit, and it's just a matter of trying to get them into a corner so they can stay still long enough for you to actually knock them out. Bees can be fairly dangerous, but honestly they do so little damage that they're not even something to worry about at this point. Maybe a little bit later, bees would be even less of a challenge, but and by that I mean something you could actually see on a regular basis, but they never really do anything with it. And regrettably, of course, bees do have a bit of a weird hitbox area to them. As you can see, the bee that just attacked me actually managed to hit the Mandragora that was located almost to his side right before that. Mandragoras are one-hit kills, but bees one-hit kill Mandragoras as well, so you've got to kinda lure them into it using the main character as the bait. If you can get the bee to follow you and then move into the range of a Mandragora, it's an instant kill, but otherwise they'll just target whatever trap is on the field, in this case, well, our plant buddy here, and then of course they'll leave. So, we did get the Fire Golem card last time, might as well use it, show it off. The Fire Golem's a bit of an interesting card. It gives you a barrier that prevents contact damage with opponents and instead gives you the contact damage, which is pretty handy, especially because it's fire elemental. It doesn't last very long though, and it is a summon card for a fair amount of magic crystals, so it probably won't see much use with us. It's handy, don't get me wrong, but you can still be hit during it. You just can't be hit by walking into enemies. Anyway, the game throws another ghoul card at us, and we go to get the final beehive up on the first side of the river, as we will have to get to the other side that used to be blocked off by the bridge before we were so rudely interrupted by that strange pigman. So there are 8 bees in total around the stage. Ghouls do one-shot them, so if you have a ghoul card from the pot in Blasoon, you can actually use that to great effect here. If you've even managed to get enough experience for it to duplicate it once, you'll probably be pretty well off. Though, of course, we did just acquire another ghoul card, and we are going to encounter a deck point in the near future, so we'll be able to use that. So, of course, the way that we're going to get up and down the canyon is by a giant ladder. Why not? 2 giant ladders, as a matter of fact. And don't get me wrong, ladders are a good mechanic for getting to places vertically, just not here. It doesn't make any sense. Like, why would they have placed the ladders here when the bridge was there? Why would they have placed them on opposite sides of the bridge when they could have just climbed up one ladder? Why would they put it 20 feet away from the bridge? It's just a bunch of stuff that's basically, we're going to plan ahead in case of the eventuality that somebody comes along that's too tough for us to beat and we have to blow the entire area. Doesn't make much sense. Anyway, you've got a quick skeleton card here at the end of this side of the river, after talking to the guard who mentions that there used to be people here, but they trapped a Cockatrice, and he's pretty much the only one left now. Most of the cards here are pretty worthless. Hobgoblin, Man-Trap, and Skeleton are all independent creatures, but they're all fairly trash independent creatures. Most are at the beginning of the game. But we are going to get a quick encounter here that's actually sort of notable, I think. I don't think we've encountered a Venus spider thus far. And to be honest, we haven't really encountered one for too long now either. But Venus spiders will toss out webs that if you stand on them for too long can inflict poison, or paralyzation, or possibly charm. I've heard it might be able to charm you, but I've never actually seen that happen. And of course, I was going to cut out this fight as well for the sake of not having to sit through all of it, but naturally another new enemy shows up here as well. This is the Blood Bush. The Blood Bush is actually not too useful on its own, but when trained up, it can become one of the cards necessary to get one of the most difficult captures in the game if you don't pick up that capture when you encounter it in the wild. So, of course, I'll just capture a Blood Bush for safety. I completely forget that you get one of these for free in a later stage in the game, a couple of episodes from now. But I'm not going to be keeping this run of the stage anyway. I'm going to be aborting and then retrying the whole thing, so there's really no harm done here. So we get a Venus spider down, and of course we get a Blood Bush. Blood Bushes, they aren't very good, I'm going to be completely honest. You'll place one on the field, it hits enemies but it's stationary, and when it hits an enemy, it restores the health to you. Chances are you have cards that'll heal health better than that by this point, or you'll just be able to actually, like, not get hit. Imagine that. So we find another fairy just lamenting the fact that the bridge fell, apparently unable to understand the basic tenets of physics and how if you remove a support from a bridge it will eventually go down. And we also find a card at the end of the river because why not? Apparently it was wedged in between the beams or something, it fell down when the rest of it did, or it's just been sitting there for weeks and we just picked it up off the ground. But beggars can't be choosers when it comes to cards. We'll take whatever you can get in your deck. So, of course, we get another ladder here. Plenty of jokes to be made. And by that I mean literally none. You could probably throw in a snake eater joke here somewhere if you really wanted to, but I can't say that many people would be too interested in that sort of thing. But as if to apologize, they give you a red fairy right at the top. It's like, here, you had a really shitty ladder climb twice. Have a red fairy. Also, this red fairy tells you, monsters are scary. If monsters show up, I hide inside a tree stump. And I'm like, well, that sounds like a terrible idea. Tree stumps aren't very good hiding places. But that doesn't really matter to the red fairy, and actually it's giving us a hint as to what we're going to need to do later. That white tree off to the side we're not able to interact with yet, so the chest beyond it remains inaccessible to us for the time being. However, we'll have to be able to access it by the end of the level since you can't replay levels, which I believe I talked about last episode when I was talking about red fairies. And to that effect, we're also going to be grabbing all the red fairies in this level, because you miss one and you're boned until the end game. 2 more beehives, 2 more bees. At least we have a ghoul to help speed up the fight, so no real problems there. Mostly the quantity of the bees seems to be the biggest problem here. It's like they couldn't really decide what to do with the whole stage, so they just kind of stuck 2 ladders in the middle of it and stuck bees on either side. If you were to just Oh god, pardon the pun. If you were to make a beeline throughout the entire level, you would probably complete it fairly quickly, but we're going to be completing a side objective that'll give us a little bit of extra time in the stage. We get a hobgoblin and an orc. Wait, was that a hobgoblin? I don't think it was. Anyway, so this red fairy is talking about the cockatrice and how, if it dies, whatever it's turned to stone returns to normal. Up to and including people, trees, animals, etc. So, those grey items we saw before, once we defeat the cockatrice, they'll go back to normal, we'll be able to access what's past them. Very simple. But if you never discover the red fairy because you didn't know it was inside of the stump, because you didn't talk to its earlier friend, or you didn't pay attention to what it was saying, then you're not really going to be able to do much. And if you didn't talk to the soldier at the bottom of the canyon, you wouldn't know that breaking cockatrice eggs makes them very angry. And makes it easier for you to lure them out, I suppose you'd say? So one more red fairy hiding in a tree stump, very corner of the map here. You're likely to just pay attention to the treasure chest and miss that entirely, so I know that that was one that I missed on my first playthrough for sure. Another thing about this game is that it doesn't tell you how many red fairies are in each stage, so you have to kind of guess it. If you miss one somewhere, you're really just completely SOL, but there's no way of telling that you're SOL until you reach the end of the game and you're short of the 100 fairies necessary. So apparently that blue fairy really wanted us to give it back an orc card because he's just chasing us all over the map, and then we'll break the second cockatrice egg, heal up because we got a bit of a fight coming ahead of us, and toss whatever independent cards, or not independents, whatever weapon cards we can get back into our deck. And I know she's a princess, but come on, really? That climbing speed? I've known people who were daintier than that, who were able to climb hills like that without issue. Like, I don't know, maybe it's her form is causing her to be slower, but I can't really say. Mostly because the semantics are pointless. It's a video game character, what are you going to do? So once you break the third cockatrice egg, this boulder fucking explodes, revealing a giant cloud of steam beneath. So naturally we're going to investigate, because why the hell not? If you approach the giant cloud of steam, notice the now frozen tree right next to there. You'll begin your fight with the twin cockatrice, and pay no attention to the new cards and refreshed deck. This is a different recording, in which we got some new cards and the battle turned out a little bit easier than expected. So, cockatrice are notable for two things. One, a fairly damaging regular attack in which they can charge at you, and two, a not-so-damaging attack in which they peck you and turn you to stone. Now, I was trying to get a kill with a card we're going to find out about later, but no luck, so I figure, you know what? Let's finish him off with a Fire Gargoyle. We're never going to see this card again, so why not? Fire Gargoyle fires and deals exactly no damage and deals no status condition to our friend. Most unfortunate. So we will summon a Maelstrom as well. I'm just getting out of the way a couple of cards we won't really be seeing too much. Maelstrom is not unlike the Mandragora except for the fact that it's useless, and I wanted to just kind of insult kill this boss by throwing a capture card at it. But it turns out you actually can capture them? So I get a free cockatrice here. I didn't even know that was possible, so even I'm learning things this LP. And after the battle, you'll notice the petrified stump has gone away, or the petrified fallen tree. So we're free to go through here, open the chest where we find the fabulous prize of a Venus spider. We're really never going to use it, but okay, fine. We'll accept the gift, Lost Kingdoms. We too can deal with occasionally shitty cards. And then, one thing I don't like about this level, or one thing I'm kind of ambivalent on, is that the right word? Might not be. I'm going to stop trying to use long words. Is that there's a lot of backtracking in a level that really doesn't need to have this much backtracking. Like, the paths are just not very optimal, which is unfortunate. So yeah, if you go over here, you find a cockatrice card of your very own, combined with the one that we captured and the one that was from our Dark Raven. We're now up to 3 of those. And of course, you get summoned for the final B, and he's going to be real nasty, and he's just not going to want to fight us too much, so let's just resummon the Fire Golem since this is a separate run and we have that card back. You will notice we didn't have quite enough mana, so we lost a bit of HP summoning him there, but that's perfectly alright. A small price to pay for just being able to run into this bee to kill it. And when that's complete, so too is the level. And I know what you're thinking, if we're going to get the boss card, we're going to get that bee, right? I'll bet that could be a really useful independent monster. Fast attacks, poison conditions, and I'd say, yeah, that sounds great. Except for the part where the bee doesn't do any of that as a support card, and then you'd just kinda be sad, because I know I was. The bee is actually an elemental status card, and we'll see more about it next video, but long story short, it's pretty worthless unless you have a very specialized deck or you're going to a very specific stage, so just kinda be careful around it. And of course, more fairies, trade them to Alexander. Nearly to 10. We got a couple last time, and with the extra 3 or 5 from this time, we're up to 11. Which gets us the card you actually saw briefly during the Cockatrice fight, the Banshee. This is one of my favorite cards in the game. It only costs 2 mana crystals, deals between 23 and 48 damage depending on weakness of the opponent, and this card, when it deals the killing blow, gets double experience, which is really, really good. Like, I cannot even describe how good that is. Regrettably, I don't think it applies to any other cards, so if you have the Banshee, you're going to have to make sure that you're actually using it appropriately, or you won't really be able to get through very well. So, we do have the burial grounds there, and we could go straight there for the next mission, but Lost Kingdoms, again, is a bit weird. It counts its side quests towards the necessary totals for reaching more side quests. So if you've already completed just the basic stage plus the side quest for the Dalnok Valley, you'll actually be able to talk to Gerd to get the next mission immediately. And this one is going to be a mission in a desert, related to something completely different with no relation to the previous mission whatsoever, so who knows what's going on there. Anyway, we have a couple of cards we might be able to transform. Sand Golem, I don't want to transform right now. There's a better and necessary transform that we're going to need for it. But considering I have enough XP, we could at least make myself a brand new Dragon Knight, right? Right. There's really no disadvantage to Dragon Knights. They're fantastic. Their attack range is so far and so wide that they really aren't going to fall that easily in value over the course of the game. So, regrettably, I do think I forget to talk to Gerd here, or I'm going to talk to her at the beginning of the next episode and I've completely forgotten about that, but long story short, next time we're going to a desert. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.